You never know when you finally start going live. So I think Lee, hello. I think we're live now.
Oh, you think so, huh?
Yes, yes, yes. Let me check here over. Anyway, I'm there we are. Yes, I just saw that we are here together. Hello, everyone who happens to be in the room with us. I'm Dr. Doreen Downing, and I'm hosting this interview of one of my best friends, my training partner, and somebody that I've been related to for years, maybe 30, over 30 years. So this is this is a wonderful opportunity to highlight this person, Lee Glickstein. Hi, Lee.
Hi, Doreen.
Well, let me first say, I already mentioned that I have known you for over 30 years, but when I first met you, the reason why I came over the threshold into your training room was because I had public speaking fear. It was terrible. And you had a process called speaking circles. And that's when I stepped into a whole transformational process that changed my ability to be myself and speak. So I'm excited. And now, back then, you had a book called Be Heard Now, right? In order to be heard now, you have to be here now. But today, it's be seen now. So, hello. I
Hello.
so we're going to talk about the book, but first I want to focus on you, and because obviously not obviously, but it seems like those who have really come up with transformational work do so because they had an experience, they suffered. So let's start there with your own early life experience. Okay.
Yeah, well, I recall a few traumatic events. Standing in front of a fifth grade class and peeing in my pants, things like that. But the big one was when I was 13 and I had my bar mitzvah. You know, Jewish boys become men at 13, and everybody shows up at I was going to say the cathedral, but at the synagogue, all the friends and family come. And the typical speech, you have to give the speech, and it starts with, "Today I am a man." But when it came out of my mouth, it was, "Today I am a man." And I like to say it brought down the house of
They
worship.
laughed. They
They
were laughing.
laughed. They were
Oh,
laughing. They were laughing
oh,
at me, not with me.
yeah. Yeah, no.
And that was my first public speaking experience in front of a large group. It took 35 years to get over it, or to figure out, to find out what the problem was.
All right. Well, how did you know you needed to fix it? How was it a problem though?
Well, I thought I was going to be one of two things. I had a lot of what's the word for when you think you can be great? There's a good word for that.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, thought I was going to be a comedian and a guru of some sort. I had something to give, and I couldn't get any words out, even one on one. I didn't know how to express. It was like there was a complete block between my vision of myself and my possible future and the capacity to express it. I still have a lot of that, strangely enough, but and I know I needed to do something I went to Toastmasters and I failed. It's kind of, nobody fails Toastmasters, but
Uh-huh.
I flunked out of Toastmasters. And I was in my 40s when I started to try to figure something out. And I got friends together and I had people get up one person at a time. And what I asked them to do was to be with one person at a time.
Uh-huh.
That simple idea, I sort of understood that. And I didn't participate. But I had four young people came once a week for the first year. How many years ago was this? This was in the
So it had to
early
be in
90s.
see, I met you in the early 90s, so it had to maybe be in the late 80s.
In the
Early.
late 80s. This is like 40 years ago.
Uh,
And they were getting great use of it. just standing there, and I would say, don't try to figure out what
Hmm.
what you want to say. I just be with one person at a time, and if you don't say anything, that's okay. Just get used to the eyes on you and meet the eyes on you. And for a few years, so these four people came for one whole year, every week for a year. And I think almost anyone else by then would have quit, right? Because I wasn't getting any new customers, and they were paying $10 each a week
Uh-huh.
for this. And but I stuck with it because that's all I knew to do. It's like I had something in me said, "This is your road," and people started coming, and suddenly there was a following. And I started to actually be able to quit my job as a temporary typist and do this work. And finally, like 4 years into it, I hadn't availed myself of standing in front except to lead it. And I could stand and lead the group and tell them what the protocol was, but to take a turn, no. So finally, there was this circle. It was a Wednesday night in Mill Valley, a rainy
In Mill
Wednesday.
Valley, yes.
There were very few people, and there was extra time. And someone says, "Lee, why don't you get up?" And I went up, and I was as scared as any of them when they had started to show up. And that was the beginning of me taking my own medicine. And after a while, I lost my stage fright, which I had been with for until my almost 50 years old. My stage fright dissolved because I was in relationship with the audience. And
Yeah.
that relational presence became the term that described what I apparently was teaching.
Yeah, well, that's about when I showed up in your life.
I
I
remember.
Yes, yes. So you're talking about the experience that I had, which was already a number of people in the group, maybe 10 people in the group. And then I stood up, and the instruction is to not have to say anything unless it's really coming up. So it also involves a listening to yourself, a being with yourself, and then also being with those who are, I would say, supporting you, but listening in this new way, not trying to, judge me like Toastmasters or count my ums or anything like that. It was just stand and be with one person at a time. And it was liberating to not have to think of what I have to say to impress, script, pause. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to pause, all that kind of do. So Lee, that was how you stumbled upon this, and then growing it over the years, deepening it, and then let's stick with come back to the book though. I mean, I've been part of the growth in the process and it becoming international. I mean, we're in Japan, we're in Europe, all over Europe, Canada. So we've even had participants come in from Africa, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah. Well, and it's so funny as I think about the scope of how the work started, and we added all these things about be yourself, speak from your heart, be honest, all this stuff, and really, it's come around to where when writing the book. In fact, it was after the book came out last week that
yeah,
I figured out the simplest way to describe what we do. I wish I
dude,
could rewrite
say
that.
it.
It's just the simplest thing. You could be a really good speaker. I'm talking to you folks who are listening who have anxiety about speaking. You are so much of a better natural speaker than you can ever imagine. And all you have to do to get there is one thing, one practice. Well, first you breathe,
Yeah.
and
You
then
come into yourself.
I don't know what myself is, but I just
Yeah.
breathe. Be with one person at a time and see that person so they feel seen. That's it.
Yes.
One person at a time.
Uh-huh.
And when you're with them, even if it's for 3 seconds, two
Uh-huh.
seconds, see them so they feel seen. The the I was going to say the trick is, but it's not a trick.
Uh-huh.
the hurdle you need to get over to do that simple thing, which will allow you to become the speaker you are meant to be, is to practice, is to practice in a front with a group that's all in the same game. So everybody's doing the same thing. So you can start and have no idea how to do it. And the only coaching as facilitators we would give is take a breath, find somebody, see them. If words come, let them come. If they don't come, be silent with them. Go to another person. That's all. And for some people, boom, they get it right away.
Yes.
There's certain people who, oh, of course, this is how I am in my life, but I never applied it to public speaking. But most people, it's almost impossible at first. But the learning field is so kind. We know what it takes. People find their way in and they keep coming back, even if it's difficult, because it's such a friendly learning environment.
Yeah.
That's why teachers are learning how to do this. Teachers need to. I've worked with university professors who have experience over years, but they're missing the most important part of education, which is getting attention
Yeah.
from their students.
Yeah, this is wonderful to hear you explain it and to also kind of be demonstrating it in a way. I can see what you just said around being with one person at a time as if they've been seen, and that just means without any kind of agenda is what you're telling the group here today is that this is about dissolving. You went like this a few
Yeah.
minutes ago, dissolving stage fright, dissolving fear naturally because you land somewhere inside and have this, I'm going to say, a channel through the eyes. The eyes have energy. They look, but it's also, I mean, people would say, well, just connect, right? And that isn't what you say. That
We
isn't what
don't.
we say, right? So talk a little bit about the difference, why you don't call it connection.
Well, to connect takes the other person connecting with you.
Uh-huh.
Connection takes the, so I'm not being asked to connect with the people that I'm looking at. I'm being asked to allow the natural connection. If it comes or not, it's up to them. If it doesn't come, you don't go. But I want to ask you, Doreen, as a psychologist, this thing that people have difficulty doing, being with one person at a time and seeing them, even in real life. I mean, when
Yes.
people learn to do this in circles, they apply it to their life. Tell me why people have, what is that trauma, or what is it that creates this almost this feeling that I can't do this?
Well, that's one of the questions I was going to ask you about anxiety, but for sure, because of my own training and understanding and experience, 40 years of working with people in depth, and now more specifically finding your voice because your voice is in yourself. So you have to go understand this self that's inside. So this self was somehow, you've mentioned the word trauma, somehow this self was not allowed to actually flourish early enough in life. And I could say, I know your story about the dinner table with your family and how difficult that was for you to be seen and heard. So, if we talk about
That's
roots to anxiety,
that's where well, that's where the trauma came, or part of it. I was the younger boy. My brother's 5 years older, and he teased the hell out of me, and he was just always trying to mind F me, and successfully, I might say. And my father, who was narcissist and um,
uh-huh.
rageaholic, a dry drunk, we'll put it. His father was an alcoholic, and he would never, and used to fight with the mother. And my father vowed he'd never drink. He didn't drink, but he had that rage. And so he was there, my mother's there, and my brother's next to me. And I was teased by my brother and and daggers from my dad. And the only thing that kept me and my mother, who was the smart one in the family, she would have been our spiritual leader, but
She stayed quiet.
she had to stay quiet. She was in my predicament. And
Uh-huh.
anyway, so uh, um, where was I going with that? Boy,
Well,
I got right back to Dr. Downing. I went right back to that scene.
yeah,
But
yeah.
there was one thing in the household, I think, that kept me attached a little bit to my soul, and that was my grandparents lived with
Oh,
us for many years when
yeah.
I was very young. My grandmother, Lena, and I write about this in my book, she had a wooden leg and she would sit all day knitting and it clunk through the house sometimes. She was large. And every time we passed, she looked at me in a way
Oh,
that made me feel loved. Nobody else was giving me the look, but this
oh,
woman, and I think she knew what she was doing.
uh-huh,
She again, she wasn't much of a speaker either,
uh-huh.
but she understood what this little chubby boy was going through. And those hundreds of looks, I believe, is what was my lifeline. And I think of her, and I've done circles where I talk about her and I ask people if in their turn they might talk. Well, these are advanced circles rather than the pure ones where we never give them an agenda of what to talk about. Who in your life? Oh, that actually it's exercises in the book. After each essay, there's about 100 essays, and after each one, there's an exercise that the person can do in the mirror
Uh-huh.
and or with a partner, somebody who wants to be a better speaker in their life. And uh, I say, who in your life uh, sees you this way or saw you that way, and talk about if if words arise, and that's one of the exercises that really can help you. Hey, I'll give that exercise to the people watching.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just go to the mirror, perhaps hold
Mhm,
up a mirror
mhm,
and say, okay, grandma, or whoever you sense gave you that acceptance,
mhm.
and see them coming through your eyes to yourself.
Yeah,
And that's if you could do that if you do that for a minute a day, it'll build new neural pathways in your brain that will show up in front of groups where you'll be more likely when you're looking at somebody within 2 seconds to feel Grandma Lena or whoever coming through.
yeah. This is you're training your eyes to be soft, right? There's an availableness when you soften your eyes as opposed to do eye contact. And the way you're describing this now about looking at people so that they feel seen. It's like when a pair of eyes comes on me and there's something that doesn't feel good. But when the pair of eyes comes on me that like your eyes are, are even right now, that there's a hello in there. It feels like you're saying, I'm not threatening, I'm hello, that kind of sense of reaching somebody so that they do feel something in the gaze that's coming towards them.
Yes, they feel the possibility of real connection.
And that's relational presence,
Yes.
right? So say
Yes.
about, I mean, I know you're already
Relational
saying how we do it, but so
relate. Yeah.
relational
Well,
presence.
so presence, as taught like in acting or spiritually, is about presence within oneself. But relational presence is co-presence, it's co-mindfulness. It's two people or more than two people being in presence together. Yeah, I wanted to say something else that's coming through. When I'm on Zoom, I want to make a point that, when COVID came and I was doing all these speaking circles every week, live in person, COVID came and I had to find a way to do it on Zoom. At the time, Skype too was around, if you remember. And it took a while because I thought, oh, this is just what we have to do for a year or a few months, and then it became a few years. And what we do on Zoom, see, right now, I've been talking to you, looking at you, Doreen, right in your eyes,
Right.
because I have a camera that
Yeah.
is right in the middle of the screen.
Yeah.
And I believe you're probably looking not into my eyes, but into a camera.
Well, right now your eyes are about this far from my camera.
Oh,
So
so
if
we're
I
very
look at
much,
my camera, it's a little bit different. You're down just if
yeah.
about 1 inch below my camera because I'm
Oh, well, that's close enough to make it seem like we're across the table from each other. The
yes.
reason I'm bringing this out is
Uh-huh.
people think they think if they come to a Zoom speaking circle, which is what I mostly do now, just starting to get into the in-person circle, that oh, this is nothing like the real thing. But we have in what we do on Zoom to get practice being with one person at a time.
Yes.
Like I'm with you, Dory, now. If
Yeah.
there's 5 people on the screen,
Yes.
I simply call a name and they look into the camera and I see them like they're right, like they're in person. So we've recreated in person on Zoom, which allows me to have people from all over the country and also the Czech Republic
Yes.
and Norway come to my Zoom circles, and it's like being in the same room. So I want to encourage people, and I write a lot about the nature. I call it the Zoom revolution in the book
Uh-huh.
about what people get from and what works and why it's different from in person. Once you get the protocol, it becomes like in person, very intimate.
What you're describing is like going to a gym where you're developing a muscle, and this muscle is a presence, but the witness, the eyes are being with just one person at a time. You could practice it on Zoom, and it's staying present in the moment and with, I think is what you're saying. And
Yeah.
so when people, I'm in a group right now and it's all about getting out and being a speaker. So people focus on speaking techniques, right? And this is not a speaking technique. This is about how to be with yourself and be with one other person in a way that allows your words, because if you're passionate and you've got a message, it lives inside of you, and that's what you want to hand over, deliver your gift. So I think, this idea of Toastmasters and techniques, performance techniques, but what we're teaching is more about how to let go of techniques, right? That's just so hard for people to get, is that
Well, especially since so much taught in public speaking is about tips, tricks, techniques, right?
yes.
Tips, tricks, technique. That's what, but that doesn't work. Uh, there's like a tip. One of the tips: be yourself. In
Yeah.
fact, one of my chapters is don't just be yourself. They say just be yourself. And
Yeah.
I have a quote from Steve Martin. That's one of the quotes I have. And he said, when I was starting comedy, people said, just act like yourself. And he said, I have no idea what that means. That's of no help. And I remember there's a great old joke about this guy walks into a drugstore and says, where's the talcum powder? And the clerk says, the clerk says, walks this way. And the guy says, if I could walk that way, I wouldn't need the talcum powder. So if I could just be myself, I wouldn't need your stupid advice. So our advice is not be yourself, it's be relational.
Nice.
And through relational presence,
Uh-huh.
who you are shows up in the moment. We're constantly changing. We have so much going on. that we can't, if we try to figure out, so the practice of just being relational and nothing else, even if it just means being relational without words.
You're right.
And maybe you start, when you start, I don't know what to say. People are new at it. I don't know what to say. And they look at me and say, no, don't, you don't have to say anything. Please just be with us. We're just there for you. We don't care if you don't say a word. We're just,
Right.
and then eventually things pour out from what is needed in the moment to say, from what's wanted to say, from what's longing to be heard by people who are like, we teach listening in speaking circles. And when
Right.
you get good listening, that's what creates the best speaking.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. And the idea that we talk about listen to the listening is a little bit like look at people as if they've been,
They
it's like listen to people like they know you're listening.
right. Say that they feel seen, yeah,
Yeah. And it's
and heard.
yes, the audience feels seen and heard,
The
right?
audience feels heard in their silence, just like you feel heard in your silence from them.
Yeah.
It's a love boat
Well,
of
the
humanity.
circle, the energetic circle of receiving the listening, gazing softly, and it's just that to me feels like what the circle is, and it's what you're going to say something.
Another way to see the circle, for me, it's up to the cosmos
Uh-huh.
and down to the center of the earth and up,
Oh,
so that the circle
uh-huh.
is vertical. I have this chapter on speak vertically, or recognize the vertical nature of communication. That people, are one of the tips, tricks in public speaking, typical trainings is look at your audience, this way. But
Uh,
that's not where the energy is going. The energy is going. So see them this way rather than this way. I work
I
with
get dizzy
with
if
going
I'm
like this.
looking at people that way. I know what you mean. When you land with somebody,
Yeah,
then I understand totally. I
I
want
did.
go if you want to finish that thought. I have another
I'll
question.
save it. You go ahead.
Well, what you said a few minutes ago about no agenda and just it's you can in a speaking circle you can be silent because the what you're practicing is not making a speech. What you're practicing is relational presence. That's, what we're doing. And talk more about easy going in the not knowing.
That's the key. Uh, somebody comes to a circle and they start they're finishing a sentence and they don't know what the next sentence is. And they go, so they're not easygoing in not knowing. And then they come to another circle, and it's more like it's less of a because they see when other people get up, they can take their time. The people who come and watch, great. The people who've been coming a while really model the work. Ooh. And so suddenly, maybe in the second week or third week, it's more like, but by the fifth or sixth week, this is average or mileage may vary, but they suddenly get to this place of not knowing what they're going to say next, and they enjoy the the connection that arises.
Mhm.
And they're not in any hurry. They have become easygoing in the not knowing, which is so crucial for public speaking. Because
Yeah.
if you see a public speaker who's always knowing what's next, because they practice, they have a script, and they never get to that place. They don't get to that place. There's an exit there. The audience is not feeling at home with them.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Even if they've learned to take pauses for effect, like pregnant pauses, that's one of the tips, right? Take a pregnant pause. but they're taught to take the pause, not in physically to take the pause. They're not taught to just give up what's coming next.
How to be in the pause.
Be, how to beat the pause.
Be the pause. Yeah, that's good. Well, you mentioned your book in a chapter. You've mentioned a couple of them. Tell us more if there are other chapters that you want to highlight today for us.
Oh, that's so funny. I just figured this out. Uh, practice sustainable. Hmm. I love. I really love my book. I have to tell you,
Hmm.
this is 28 years in the making. I wrote. Actually, I didn't write. Be heard now. That was ghost written.
Uh-huh.
Ghost ridden,
Uh-huh.
ridden with ghosts. No, it was
No.
written by an editor. And it took 28 years for me to write my own book. And I had all these uh,
You've been
essays, or
writing it. You've been writing it for years and
you know,
you're,
like every month in my
yeah,
newsletter. And then after COVID, it was every week. So weekly, I've written like 400 essays. And they were just sitting there. And that was beyond what I wrote in Be Heard Now.
yeah.
And I knew I wanted to leave a legacy. I was approaching 80. I can't believe I was approaching 80. By the way, the reason
You
I,
were approaching.
I was approaching, now I'm way past it. The reason I look young and is that something to do with being seen,
Yeah.
being
Uh-huh.
seen. But so I realized I wanted to put together these articles I had written. So about 2 years ago, I started collecting, um, looking back at each one, and then I took the ones that, oh yeah, there's a kernel. That is everyone is like a kernel of,
Um,
and I put them together, and then I added some more, and edited and edited and edited and edited, and so you asked me, uh, I'd like to try this little game with myself if it's okay with you.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I know your family is a game playing family.
Yes.
Uh, and if I look at the table of context, um, oh my goodness, mother mirroring. Oh my gosh, I'm so mother mirroring and the father gaze. Because when you start to get into what people talk about their early, often in circles, they'll
Mhm.
tell stories about their upbringing, about what happened in their life that created these issues that make them anxious in front of groups. And there's within the first 4 months, we're supposed to get mother mirroring. And it can be your mother, it could be a father, it could be another person. It could be Grandma Lena. That would be that was
Uh-huh.
mother mirroring. That was mother
Yeah.
mirroring.
Uh-huh.
And if you don't get that in full in the first few months or year, there's a feeling that's why you do such good business, Doreen, as a psychologist, because you've missed something important about being seen for
Mhm.
who you are. We're all such different animals. We're all such different, beautiful, magnificent, unique people, and our parents often don't know that. They just think we're little squirts. So we need the mother mirroring, and and then there's the father gaze. Again, it doesn't have to be gender specific. It could be a parent, what do they call a substitute, not a parent substitute, a parent, whatever.
Yes.
Uh, that and that is saying you can do anything
Uh-huh.
you can do anything you want. And those are and then we start talking. So some people talk about the mother mirroring. They talk about what they got from their dads. And what we do is we regaze. We're getting regazing from the audience. We're
Uh,
learning. And again, there's all these articles about neuro pathways and the scientific reason that we can actually build new neural pathways that associate being seen and heard instead of with anxiety and contraction, pathways that let us be seen with ease and expansion.
right. It
So,
needs to be practiced in an environment. I know we talk about them as inspired learning
yeah,
environments, right?
yeah. So
And Go on.
we
But yeah.
we get re-gazed. Our
Uh-huh.
neural pathways allow us to see the mother mirroring coming from the audience, to see the father gaze coming from the. We don't see it in those specifics, but it's the panorama of
Uh-huh.
people who are giving us the gazes we didn't get when we were younger.
The father gaze, it just occurred to me, was more you can do it, the positive, and that's to me what it feels like. The support, a little bit different than what you've been saying about the mother gaze, is like you're beautiful, and but the other one is, yes, I believe in you, you can. It's a little stronger, I guess, in terms of how we as little ones could take it in if it was there for us. And
Yes.
when it's not, what's exciting is that there are opportunities to re-parent, to re-find these who you truly are inside, and the neural pathways that you're talking about that can be established. New wires,
Yeah,
rewiring.
rewired to have your eyes available to the world.
Yeah.
Well, I'm feeling that right now. My eyes, I take it for granted. I do all this work and I take it for granted. I see the world with my eyes. I'm not, especially when, well, we can do that. Many people can do that in nature. That's why we love nature. But when there's other people around, there's all these possible triggers, right?
Yes.
And I do get triggered. It's not like I don't get triggered. It's that I can feel the triggering, but I'm not going to look down the barrel of a gun who's somebody who looks like they're despising me, but I see it and I'll go to somebody who's seeing me. There's
Mhm.
always somebody out there seeing me.
Mhm. Yeah. And you have to be, I think one of the messages today from you is look for it. And what you can do is create a listener who listens to you more by the way you listen to them, or look, if you want to say, looking and listening seem to be about the same thing, but
Yeah, yeah. When we see the listening, we're better speakers when we recognize the listening. Oh, that's another thing that would became a kind of a turning point for me is when I had always looked, I was about just about 50, just about 50 when when I was still struggling with this, and I assumed that my speaking problem was a block in speaking, right?
yeah,
A
yeah.
block speaking. And so it occurred to me that the block was a block in receiving the available listening.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That there's available listening out there, folks. It may not be everybody, but there is available listening. And when you put your attention on the available listening, and when you see somebody who's not available, you move on. And that became the exercise, is to receive the available listening rather than to have something to say. And when you receive the available listening, you have something to say.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah, that you just described my listening. I mean, my experience of being in speaking circles is surrendering to the listening and not knowing, the easygoing and the not knowing. And then pretty soon, what needs to be said, what wants to be said, I listen to it myself and it comes up, it comes through. And so, well, then what about how does this?
I got to go back. You said something. Everything you say,
Okay.
it comes through. Oh no, I forgot. Oh, this was so. It was just to add a codicil to what you said. What did you say just before you almost said this next thing?
Oh, before I was going to my question, it
Yeah,
was about my experience of allowing myself to surrender into the listening that's in the room,
yeah.
because I know it's a safe room because it's a speaking circle and I'm not pressured. And when they listen to me, it helps me listen to myself.
I got it.
Okay.
You listen when in this speaking circle milieu. I never use that word milieu.
Uh-huh.
Uh, So what comes up, because it's relational and hasn't been thought about, it just shows up. It's interesting to you hearing it
Uh-huh.
because it's interesting to you coming through you. And when it's interesting to the speaker, it's interesting to the audience. The audience, it's not that they say, oh, this person is making this up in the moment. It's more like
Uh-huh.
they're comfortable in this constellation of the person up front is doing something that's kind of magnetic.
Yes. Uh-huh. And it's fresh and new, and it's not canned, and it's not scripted. Okay, so that leads me to my question here. So scripting, because yeah, there are places in which we need to have a script. So how do you do both at the same time? Have this way of being as well as the techniquey, scripty stuff that you need to do.
Well, ideally, you have something in your if you're talking about creating a talk, and
Yes.
there's a paragraph, and if you know how it starts,
Uh-huh.
uh, you can make it up in the moment because you know what that wants to do.
Yes. All
But
right.
there are times when you perhaps need to script.
Yeah.
Uh, and I want to call your attention to Broadway actors who do the same script every night for years. Why is the show just as good or better
Uh-huh.
when they've done the same script? It
Uh-huh.
doesn't make sense. And the reason is that they have found a way to make it a new experience for themselves.
Uh,
They have found a way
uh-huh.
for the words to arise
Uh-huh.
word by word,
Uh-huh.
live, as if it's coming new. Their character is it's just, the character they're playing is absolutely fresh because they're allowing themselves. I don't know how they do it. Not many people can do it, but that is an ideal if you need to script, is that if you know it well enough and you take breaths and you stay with one person at a time, you can deliver a script uh, in relational presence.
You're right. And in the moment, always coming back to the now is what I think the practice is, that ability to have a message and what you want to say, but it's coming from here, not in the brain. You're
Right.
not trying to remember, like leave the gaze that you're talking about and go, what was I on? Okay, then come back. You're here, and it's, well, I guess people talk about like being in the zone, but
I have to say, personally, I'm the world's worst memorizer.
me too. Ah,
That's why we do
ah,
this.
that's why that's why we love this.
And I am not able to memorize a sentence sometimes.
Uh-huh. I
And
know.
let's say I have a minute, I've written a perfect minute to make a
Yes.
video to promote the book, right?
Yeah.
And I have it, right? And I want to do it in one take. I don't want to see cuts in the video.
Uh-huh.
And I finally get the words right. And I watch it. And it's not good enough
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's I'm still up here. That's
Right.
why I had to create a whole business around for people. And you can go through life and never have to memorize a script. What would you ever need a script to memorize? In
Yeah.
fact, and there's TED Talks, and you're supposed to have them scripted, I mean, that's what they say. I mean, that's one of the things they have it written, you write it, word for word, sort of. And Brene Brown, who has got some of on vulnerability, an amazing speaker, she didn't do that.
Uh-huh.
She didn't tell them I'm not going to do it, but she just talked
Uh-huh.
about what she knew. And
Yeah.
she knew she'd start somewhere, get somewhere. And she's brilliant. And you say, why is she brilliant? Watch Brene Brown. She's not doing a script.
Uh-huh. She's natural coming from. And this is what people, I think, what's possible is to be way more natural, way more conversational, way more engaging, which leads to, well, people having more business, more money, more, this the kinds of things that people are doing in order to speak is to get clients or whatever. So coming to a close before we do that today, I want to ask you about the book itself. Is there something that you feel that, I mean, you've said everything, I think, about the book, but is there something else that feels like you want, let's just listen to this now moment
Yeah.
before we come to a close here about
Uh,
what's
what what
important.
what comes to mind is some of the people who've responded to the book, who've written reviews, who tell me is that there's a sweetness in the writing. There's the whole. It's like the book creates a speaking circle environment. It's it it's it's not what do you call logically progresses in a sense.
Linear.
It goes from one to linear. It goes from one idea to another, and there's a feeling of that the book is listening to the reader.
Nice.
I wrote a book that listens to the reader. I don't know, is that a new thing? But that's my main I thought about the book is that it's a place to go to live in and you could pick it up at any day and just randomly look at anything and it's like a hologram. The whole book shows up in that idea.
Oh, that's fabulous. So people can find you speakingcircles.com, right?
Speaking, so actually my website is speakingcirclesinternational.com.
Okay,
But
speaking
the
circles.
best way to find me is Lee at speakingcircles.com.
So we can email you. So you're doing online speaking circles, a few in person. I do in person on Wednesdays in Berkeley, but I don't have any online ones. And we've trained many facilitators around the world who are, some of them doing in-person circles. We've got a whole group of people doing relational presence training in Europe. So it's spreading out
Yeah.
this message of uh, be yourself and speak from the moment, speak with one person at a time. That's where you started today.
I have about 4 or 5, sometimes 5 Zoom, 1 hour Zoom circles a week. So you can join from anywhere. And I'm going to be doing in-person circles in the San Francisco Bay Area starting in January.
Good. All right. Let's get this out there and help people really come into themselves more so that they feel comfortable, because it's not just about being public speaking on a stage, right? That's where you're saying every moment, even, one-on-one. This is one-on-one public
Yeah. I think we're very relational in this hour. Thank you, Doreen. Wonderful to play with you.
work play. Thank you, Lee.